All right, and Good Morning Kenya gets to continue. Thank you for staying with us. Now we get into a conversation that we really need to have, and that is a conversation on sexual assault. And to be specific, we will be talking about sexual assault awareness. And this is in line with the fight against gender-based violence. And joining me for this conversation this morning, I will begin with a lady. We have Sumaya Ruguru. Sumaya is the founder and CEO, Sumaya Foundation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and right next to Sumaya, we have Raphael Mwatu. Raphael is the Managing Director, Sumaya Foundation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I want us to begin, first of all, by you just telling me what Sumaya Foundation is all about. We can begin with you as the founder.
Okay, thank you so much. So since 2021, we've been dedicated to providing comprehensive support to survivors of gender-based violence and sexual gender-based violence. Our focus extends beyond crisis intervention to include prevention, education, and advocacy. We also strive to address, challenge, and transform the societal norms that perpetuate these forms of violence against vulnerable boys, adolescent girls, and young women.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you've included the boys too, because
Yes.
most times when we talk about gender-based violence, people tend to assume that it can only be against the girl child. Probably you can talk on that.
Yeah, the numbers are really high for the guys, and the big problem is boys don't really speak out, but that's something we're trying to do. We want to create a safe space where the boys can feel heard and they can feel like it's a safe place where they can bring out their issues and we can help them out.
Why did you decide to join this foundation?
Personally?
Yeah, personally. Yourself.
I saw what they were doing, first of all, and I was really touched by it. So there was a time, there was something going on X, formerly Twitter, and there was a conversation where people were sending anonymous stories of what they are doing, and there were so many guys there, and people didn't know what to do. Like, they didn't know what to do, and they were just quiet, and they were saying, I can't even tell my parents, I can't tell this and that. And I just felt like, in high school I was a prefect, so I just felt like that leadership was calling me to come and encourage them to just come and speak up and see there's someone else who's doing this and feel, okay, so men can also be part of this conversation, men can also be part of the change that we want to see.
What brought about the idea of you deciding, okay, I'm going to start this thing whereby we're going to be dealing with young boys and young girls, just what brought about this idea?
So Sumaya Foundation was born out of a quiet and painful realization that grew louder in my heart during the global #MeToo movement back in 2020, as he said. So the #MeToo movement is a social movement and awareness campaign that encourages women to publicize their sexual assault stories. So I remember as I was reading through the stories of countless number of women globally and even in Kenya and more so in Nairobi, that day something in me shifted because those girls could have been me, some of those girls were me. And I knew from that point that I couldn't be a bystander to the silence, fear and shame of so many women. So I decided to do something about it. So by nature, I'm not a conformist. I'm a very skeptic person. So I decided to educate myself first. So I dove deeper into the conversation and I did a few SRHR courses online. So in 2021 is when I founded Sumaya Foundation. And not because I had all the answers or I knew everything, but because I wanted to create a safe space where survivors were heard, and not only heard, but also believed, and they received the care they need. And where education was used as a tool for healing and prevention. Yeah.
And when you talk about sexual assault, probably if you were to define what that is, how does that look like? What exactly is sexual assault?
So I can answer. So sexual assault, the broader term is defined as any sexual act, attempt to obtain the sexual act, unwanted sexual advances or comments directed towards a person's sexuality without their consent, irregardless of the relationship between the perpetrator or the victim. But also according to the Kenyan law, you can simplify it into 4 parts. So if you're able to prove, number 1, there was lack of consent, and number 2, there was penetration, and number 3, the sexual act itself. So if you're able to prove those things, then it can amount to sexual assault. Yeah.
So sexual assault has to be the sex bit, like there has to be a penetration.
Penetration, yes. According to the Kenyan law, there has to be a penetration. But the broader term, it can also include unwanted sexual comments or advances. Yeah.
So according to Kenya's law, that's where
there has to be penetration
happening. But if we talk about sexual assault generally, I believe it happens even in our day-to-day, unfortunately, because, you know, something as just the other day I was seeing a clip of a guy, you know, just spanking a lady out of nowhere on the streets, like you just, that's also sexual assault.
Groping happens a lot, really.
And even when you look at some of the, you know, statistics, it shows that in our lifetime, probably as ladies, you know,
5.
at least one in every 5. You know, in every 5 has or will get to experience sexual assault in our lives. Just how unfortunate is that, you know, even speaking as a boy child?
I think it's really unfortunate we have such going on, and I think it's high time we have more of these conversations, not just during the Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. I think it's high time we have these conversations even in our workplace, everywhere we are, even in the matatus, anywhere, just have these conversations so that most people aren't aware that it's sexual assault. So for most guys, for example, the example you're saying for spanking, most guys don't know that's sexual assault. They just know, this girl looks nice.
Wow.
So it's high time we have to educate all these people that, you know, you have to get consent to do that. You just don't do whatever you want to do without the consent of
and
the
it's
other
someone
person.
you don't know.
You
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's just on the streets, honestly speaking. So where exactly do we need to start these conversations? When exactly do you feel this conversation should begin, you know?
As early as now. As early as now. We are trying to incorporate as many people as we can. As she said, we've done this without being experts in the field. We've gone and educated ourselves to the level that we are right now. We started without knowing much in the topics. So even whoever is listening to this, whoever is there, you can start with even just going to the YouTube, to go into the internet and just educating yourself and just reading about what's there, reading about consent and just understanding the subject on your own.
Probably if you can add on to that, like, how does that look like, us starting this conversation, you know, us ensuring that we are raising a society that is human, because that's just the word. We need to be human, and then after that, then we won't be hearing of cases of gender-based violence or sexual assault, whether on the boy child or the girl child.
I feel like the first step, and it was also the first step for Sumaya Foundation, was education. Because once people know that sexual assault is X, Y, and Z, and the types of sexual assault are, you know, for example, rape, catcalling, and domestic violence. Once someone has the education, then the awareness comes, because you can't have awareness without education. So I feel like the first step should be education. And as Raf has said, it's your duty, you know, to educate yourself. And when you're consuming media on the internet, make sure you're really critical, because there's also a lot of misinformation. So you need to be very critical on what you're consuming on the media. Make sure it's from a reliable source. Yes.
So you work with survivors?
Yes.
Mainly?
Yeah. But most of our work centers around creating awareness. Yes. And the age group we work with is adolescent girls and young women, and also vulnerable boys. Yes.
You work with, sorry, my director was speaking to me, so I didn't hear what she was saying. Kindly, if you can just...
I said most of our work is centered around creating awareness, and the age group we focus on is adolescents and young people. Yeah.
All right. When you're working with survivors, just how does that look like? Because these are vulnerable people. These are very, I would use the word traumatized people. So how does that look like when you're working with survivors?
I think the most important thing is to allow them to process and give them that space where they can process whatever has gone on. You can't push them towards whatever you think is right. Like, for example, go and report or do that. You just have to advise them, tell them this is the options that you have. So whenever you're ready, you have to do this. You can do this and this and that. So you have to be really, really patient with them, and you have to give them that listening ear, so that they can talk to you, they can feel, they can trust you, and that's when the healing journey can start.
Yeah. What kind of immediate maybe support should be available for the survivors?
I feel like the most important one is the medical treatment, because you need those tests and the results, so you can be able to now build a strong legal case, which makes it now easier to even hold the perpetrator accountable for his or her actions.
So how I want to understand how you get to work with them, like practically, how are you working with them, and where does it all start? Do you try find out, okay, there's someone who apparently I've heard was assaulted, or do they come looking for you? Just take me through that.
Yeah, so for us, that's why I told you the first step is education, because it's actually very essential, because it puts us out there, because we conduct outreach programs in secondary schools and also in communities. So in that, we are able to put ourselves out there, because most of the time survivors don't really come out or don't even realize they've been assaulted. So we extend that grace, and we put ourselves out there so that we can also be recognized as a reliable ally for them, to be like, okay, I've heard of Sumaya Foundation and they do this and that, and I can come to them. So if a survivor comes to us, so we act as a bridge now between survivors and their respective source of help. So we have a law firm, the Yashim Rukungo and Mongela and co-advocates, who are very generous and offer pro bono. So they deal with cases that we forward to them. And we also have a medic, she's called Nahia, who also handles the medical aspect of it. So in case a survivor comes to us, we're able to connect with them and they can get the help they require. Yes.
And also to add on to that, sorry. When we do these outreach programs in secondary schools and the communities, usually get young boys and girls who it's after the fact. So they've been assaulted a while back, they didn't know if it's even assault. So they usually provide a session where they can ask questions, and then they're anonymous. So they just write in a piece of paper, then we go around collecting, then we can answer. So during this time we get people who've been assaulted, or they are going through assault even in the process, in their homes or whatever. So when we experience the guys who've been assaulted a while back, but they've not known how to move on from it, we now bridge them towards even mental health experts who can help them process. And if they want to seek justice, we have the Yashim and the team to help them with that.
So you're all-rounded.
It takes a community, really.
And that's really amazing. It's really amazing. Now, you've talked about the fact that, when you go to schools, excuse me, when you go to schools, you get to find out that there are young people who probably might have been assaulted, but they didn't really know that it was assault. So maybe just how rampant are these cases? Because, when you talk about high schoolers, these are very young people, 13-year-olds, 13 to 18, right? So just how rampant are these cases, even in high schools?
I think mostly, especially the boys' schools we go to, most of the boys don't know it's assault, or they're being taken advantage of. I don't want to mention the school, but there's a school we went to, and after the event, now everyone is going back to the activities. A boy who came to us and said, there's this girl I like, blah, 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 but the mom also wants things to do with me. But this young boy thinks, I am a man, how can I say no to sex? How can I, what kind of man will that make me if I'm saying no to a woman that wants me? So this boy was wondering, is it right? What should I do in this case? Because yes, she's older than me. Yes, she's still beautiful, but she's the mom of the girl I want. So what should I do? Like most of the boys.
Oh, that's messy.
Yeah, so most of the boys aren't aware of
Yeah.
these things, of people taking advantage of them.
Yeah. So they don't know what exactly that is.
Yeah.
They can't put a name to it.
There's a lot of misinformation going on and also myths surrounding sexual assault. And in relation to boys, especially the consent part, most boys feel like they don't have to consent, and we now have to remind them that, you know, you do have to consent and you don't always have to agree to sex. And even during the high school sessions, we let them know that, you know, you're minors. You are unable to consent. Yeah, so, you know, there's a group of people who also cannot be able to consent. So these are minors or intoxicated persons, elderly persons. These people are unable to consent. Yeah.
How does that conversation look like, you know, with the young ones?
Yeah.
Like, what exactly are you telling them, you know, to get it to their level? I'm imagining maybe even primary schools, if you speak to us, the young ones, how does that conversation look like?
Our approach is usually friendly-like, because we don't want them to see us as, you know, big authoritative figures. So we approach them more like elder siblings, you know, the ones they can really trust, and that really helps us gain their trust. And, you know, it's not, our age gap is not that big, because we are also young ourselves. So it helps us to meet them at the level they are at, and now it creates a space for them to open up and also speak about their experiences.
We try and make it as
And
fun
before
as
you even
possible.
jump onto that, how about we take a break and then we come back to continue the conversation? Let's take a break. We'll be back in a bit. All right, thank you for staying with us. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Degwa, and we're having a conversation on sexual assault awareness. And I'm joined by two young people who have taken it upon themselves to ensure that they just make some changes, however small they can. Before we took that break, we were just talking about how you're able to just get to speak to the young ones on this matter that is very sensitive. Sometimes it's not really spoken about. And it's unfortunate that, you know, some of these conversations, we should be having them at home, you know, in the family setup and all. But most times, parents maybe don't know how to start such conversations and whatnot. So I was just, before we took the break, you were actually jumping on to what she was saying about, you know, how you just try to be on the same level with them so that they are able to open up to you.
Yeah, so before we even start the sessions, we try and have as much fun with them as possible. So you can even put music. We try and tell them, we dance, like we just get them loose and relaxed. So once we started the session, we talked to them, they realized, oh, this is not like a class session, we'll go and sleep, we'll start dozing off. We try and make it as fun as possible. So that by the end of the session, these guys are really comfortable around us. They usually don't even want to leave us. It's just to come and chase them. So we want to create that space where, oh, this is Raf, this is my big bro, this is Sumaya, my big sister. Like I can tell him anything, because I can't tell my mom and dad this for some reason, but Raf and Sumaya, let's tell them. Like, so you just have to just try and create that friendly atmosphere with them.
You know, with the story that you had you just gave us some moments ago on the guy who's a minor but the mother of this chick that, you know, which is a crazy story. You know, it's unfortunate that, I don't know if you've heard of this, but even when you speak to some of your friends, especially gentlemen, you get to realize that most of them had their first sexual encounter. You know, it doesn't have to be like actual sex, like penetration, but just their first sexual encounter with their house helps.
Yes.
You know, I don't know if it's the same story you've had, but for me, that's the story I've had quite a number of times. And they don't really know if, you know, they come to realize later that, oh, that's what was happening. I was assaulted while I was really young, you know? So you've had the same?
Yes, it actually happens more often, because when we ask boys about their experiences, most of them tell us, you know, people our age, they tell us, you know, my first time, it was with my house help. She just came on top of me and I couldn't refuse, you know. There's that whole notion around men not being able to say no to sex, which is a very harmful perception, because men can't say no to. Yeah, they
And they
can't say
should.
no. Yeah.
Yeah. Raf, maybe if you can speak on just men, you know, allowing themselves to speak up. You know, because for girls, we do talk. I'll tell my friend, I will maybe talk to my mother, I'll maybe find someone I can speak to. But for guys, you really don't talk about it, especially when it's assault, because you wonder, okay, they're going to see me as less of a man, not just for the young ones, even, you know, for grown-up men, even with GBV, you know, when it happens to them, we rarely hear of these cases, but it's not that they don't happen. It's just that they are not recorded because they don't come up to speak about them. If you can just speak about that and maybe what can be done, you know, in general as a society, what can be done to enable men to be open to speak up?
Thank you. I usually try and tell men that you shouldn't think that you're alone, because I think even when you go to social media and all, you're usually hear a lot of things that say, as a man, you're alone, no one cares about you, nini. But I think it's important to realize that you're not alone. You have to, I really recommend that people find a band of brothers, even if it's just one guy. Find something you have in common. Let it be football, let it be cars, whatever. You have a group of guys who you can trust, who you can be open with, and just share it with them. Even if you don't want to share it with the police or whatever, share it with them at least. Share it with one person or the person you trust the most. If you don't really trust your friends that much, reach out to people like us. Like just go, even if it's anonymously, sending a message or whatever, just open up. Once you get it out of your chest, you'll find it easier to carry that burden with you. And the more people do this, the more we'll have the facts. As you said before, we were talking about 1 in every 5 girls. I don't think we have the accurate statistics for men.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because most men don't really talk about it. They don't report it. So I really advocate. It doesn't make you weak, because everyone in life, even let's say you have a business, it can fail, and your failure doesn't really define you. Exactly. You have to stand tall above whatever challenge you're going through. You have to just start with the mental. You have to really be mentally strong, because if you withhold it in you, you'll never move on from it. You'll keep it to yourself, and forever you'll be traumatized by the experience. And most of the times, the people who have this trauma, they've carried this trauma for a while, they usually end up being perpetrators sometimes, because they've not let go of the anger and the frustration that they have. So I really ask them, just speak to someone. If you are not comfortable going directly to the higher ups, the police or whatever, start with someone who just listen to you, and slowly by slowly you'll get the confidence to seek the justice you deserve.
Would you say this stems from how most of us were brought up? Because even when you're being brought up, if you have brothers at home, you know, you could cry, but if your brother cries, he's told, kwa nini unalia? Wewe ni mwanaume, you know? Would you say it stems from there?
Yeah, I feel like patriarchy plays such an important role in shaping the views of men in our society, because it teaches them that, you know, men are not weak. Men don't show their weaknesses. Men should be this and that. And the next generation grows up knowing the same thing. And at my foundation, as I said earlier, we work on, you know, challenging these norms and trying to transform them into better sentences.
I want us to talk about victimization, because that's another thing.
Yes.
You know, victimization of the survivors. Or if I don't know if the right one. Is it right to call them victims?
Yeah, we can call them survivors.
Okay, survivors sounds better, actually. So victimization of the survivors.
Yes.
You know, even when you just go on social media, say there's a story written of a girl who was killed, you know, by the boyfriend, or who was killed at a B&B, which are stories we've been hearing, you know, the stories of femicide and whatnot. Even when you go through the comments, like sometimes it's very saddening because you hear people saying, what did she do?
Yeah.
You know,
What was she doing there?
You know, that's what you get for just going for money. You know, you just look at these comments and that's victimizing this person. You know, probably the person who's already dead from being assaulted, or if they manage to come out of it, just imagine them getting to see that they've been assaulted, they've been raped and whatnot, and then you go and you see, you know, you find out, okay, apparently it's my fault. Let's just talk about victimization. What does that do to the survivor?
So a better term would be victim blaming. So the whole aspect of victim blaming is shifting the narrative and centering the victim, the survivor, to the cause of the assault, when the actual and the real person who should be at the center is the perpetrator. And you just mentioned a femicide, and I would like to state the fact that femicide is an ongoing crisis in Kenya right now. And just this year, between January and March, there have been a total of 129 cases.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. And
in just 4
in
months.
March, it was higher because it was 44.
Yeah.
January was 43, and February 42. You know, which means that in a day, approximately more than one girl is murdered. You know, that's a whole crisis right there. And you'll still find people saying that, you know, what was she doing there, you know? But whatever the reason, like, you shouldn't kill someone, you know, simply because maybe they rejected you or the plans changed midway, or even for money. Like, even if it's money, that's not based to now kill someone, you know. And that whole notion is very detrimental to the victims, because now it creates a space where they can't open up, you know, because you'll just be told it was your fault. And now once you start believing it's your fault, now you'll start looking at yourself differently, because you're wondering, you know, what's wrong with me? Is there something wrong with me? When there's no reason that assaults to rape, you know? It is entirely on the perpetrator. It's not your skirt.
Justifies.
It's not your dress code. It's not even the reason for money. There's no justification for rape.
And I think we have a really negative culture as Kenyans towards victim blaming, not even just around femicide. Let's say you've been mugged. You've been asked, ulikuwa nje saa ngapi? What time were you walking outside? Like, or your phone is snatched. Ulikuwa tumia simu kwa matatu. Like, they blame the victim so much. And this limits how it lets the perpetrators go free, because most people won't want to. Let's say you've been told, I've been assaulted. Ulikuwa nje saa ngapi? Ulikuwa umevaje? Like, you won't seek justice, because you'll start believing, oh, it was my fault. It's because I was this. But in real sense, even babies are assaulted. And they're not dressing, I don't know how. Or even Muslims.
When you're full on hijab. And there are so many Muslims who've been assaulted. So you can't really say it's the dress code.
It's
really.
never about the dress code.
It's never about that.
About the person who has done that, the perpetrator. It's never about anything else. I mean, we can't justify it. And, you know, within the same breath, the gender wars we see online, you know, when it comes to matters GBV, it seems like now it's a competition of, you think you're the only ones who are going through this.
Even
you know,
us.
like, what's happening and how do we try and change that?
On that part, I would say that most of the stories that I read online, when a woman comes out and says that, you know, I was assaulted, the men now jump in and say, even me, I was assaulted, you know. Even me this, even me that. But I feel like men should come out, you know, without even the woman coming out. They should be open enough to speak of their assault stories, so that they don't jump in whenever a woman tries to explain her experience. I usually
encourage guys to come and join organizations like this even. Because let's say the topic we have most of the time is not all men are like that, not all men. So if you're not like that, come and join. Be part of the change. Instead of victim blaming and being there and defending men, we should come and be part of the change. Let's just accept that this thing is happening.
It is.
To both genders. It's not a race. The numbers are there. It's not a matter of whose life is more difficult than the other. Like, let's just make the world a better place for all of us. Let's just join all these conversations. Let's be part of the change we want to see.
So the foundation, where exactly are you based?
We're based here in Nairobi.
So you work with anyone and everyone around
Yes.
Nairobi?
Yeah.
But you also travel outside
Extend,
Nairobi.
yeah.
So we usually have, even if you're going to the school visits and whatever, we usually try, especially the impoverished areas and the rural areas, they really have
High
strong
case,
traditional
yeah.
beliefs. And for example, someone can be raped and they're told, you'll bring shame to the family, usiambie mtu. So they are hidden away. So we usually try at least every quarter, because we just try and go outside Nairobi and try and break these norms that people are believing, so that we can have a better world. Really.
And even some of them are usually told, you know, now you have to marry your perpetrator.
Oh.
Yeah. There's
For
instances.
sure this is something that is happening?
Yeah.
Yes, it happens so much. You know, you report and maybe you're pregnant and you report to your parent, of course, and your parent tells you, you know, now you have to marry that person. We don't want to bring shame into our family.
Oh.
Especially if there's a child involved.
Yeah,
You're
it
told
becomes
you have to marry.
heavier. Yeah.
You cannot bring shame to our family. So these traditional norms are really, especially in rural areas. In Nairobi, people are a bit woke, but in rural areas, they don't really have that access to the internet where they can learn most of these things. So
Or even
they're really
access
left
to education.
Yeah, or
I'm
even
sorry
access
to
to
cut you.
education. They're really left with the traditional beliefs they've grown up listening, like what they've believed growing up. So they're really, I don't know what word I can use to describe it. Like they really believe in these traditional practices.
The cultural norms are deeply ingrained into them. Like they wholeheartedly believe in that. And I wouldn't blame them. You grow up in a family and of course you follow what you're brought up in, you know. If your mother tells you something, you do believe her. And if your father tells you something, you do believe him, you know. So as you grow older, it becomes difficult to now shift your perception because it's what you've been knowing ever since you were born, you know. It's not easy to shift anyone's perception on anything, basically,
Because that's how you're shaped.
Yeah, that's how you've grown up to
so
know. It becomes really difficult.
So we can easily say that, you know, cultural or societal norms are among the barriers that we get to face in this fight against GBV. Maybe what are some other barriers that we can speak about? Patriarchy,
the system, it really does fail the victims. And I would like to take it back to when growing up, basically, you know, as a girl growing up, you know, you are told, don't stay out late at night, you know, don't go by yourself. You know, if you're requesting an Uber, share the trip, you know, and you're told people will harm you. Yeah, you know, so that mentality grows up within you and you become extra cautious. And I feel like you can relate because, you know, being a girl and even a woman, it's especially difficult because now you have to really keep on second guessing and being extra careful of where you're at, who you're with. You have to always be aware of your surrounding. And even my mom, she always tells me that, you know, Sumaya, you know, you go, just make sure you check your surrounding, you know, you're alert. Yeah, and I feel like if the conversation shifted to also telling boys and men that, you know, don't hurt women, don't touch someone inappropriately, you know.
I remember when we were having was it the femicide walk? Or, you know, there were T-shirts printed, you know, where it was written, protect your girls, and then the protect is like cancelled and stands to teach your boys. You know, so it's very important. Even as you were talking, we'll get on to speak about the barriers because I know you wanted to add on to that, but I just feel like, you know, we should make this holistic.
Yes.
So it's not just about telling your daughter, take care of yourself, you need to be careful. You know, no, not really. How about we just have the conversation with the boys and girls together and let them know this is right, this is wrong. You know, you don't just feel entitled to someone's body. Without their consent, you know. I think that would be really, really important to help with this fight against GBV and sexual assault. You were to add on to some of the barriers. I wanted to add victim blaming is also a big barrier because people don't want to seek help because they think they're the problem. So those are some of the main ones top of mind that you can just
think of.
Maybe what can be done in order for us to avert these numbers? because they're crazy. You know, in GBV and also on femicide, the numbers are just crazy. Like, you look at the numbers and you're just like, okay, we are doing badly, you know, when it comes to matters that. So probably just what can be done to avert this?
The first step, and I always like to say, is education, because once you're equipped with knowledge, you are able to recognize that, you know, this is wrong and this is right. And even though you do it or you don't do it, you're aware, and that's where now awareness comes in. So education is a very important tool. Like, make sure you educate yourself. Just know the basic stuff about sexual assault, and I feel like that will make such a very big difference.
Rafu?
I think, just to add on to that, I think education is really important, because as we were talking about before, if you can't name it, you don't really know it's a challenge. So once you are educated, and it doesn't have to be the school education, even if it's just outside with societies. We actually wanted to start clubs in schools where we go and just have a safe space where you can discuss these matters. So it's just these clubs and societies, when you're doing it in your extracurricular activities, just having these conversations and educating yourself towards these matters, it will really be the biggest change you can see.
Just, I want us to speak legal now, in a way. Just how easy or difficult is it to report some of these cases? And once you, because you've dealt with some of these cases, and once you get to report, how, you know, just how does the progression happen? Do we get to see the perpetrators being, you know, brought to book and all that? First of all, begin by how easy or hard is it to just report some of these cases?
Reporting is entirely on the victim, but if the victim accepts to report and goes to the police station, you know, it's very difficult most of the time for even most of the police to actually believe you, because, you know, there's the textbook definition of what some of these assault cases are. Let's say, for example, something like rape. People believe that, you know, you have to scream, and sometimes, you know, if it happens in, let's say, a dark alley, because that's most of the notion surrounding it, your clothes are muddy and all that. And now when you go to the police, maybe just for example, if you're dressed nicely and you just go and say, you know, I'm just from being assaulted, they'd look at you and think, hey, you don't look like you've been assaulted. You know, because there's what society believes and there's what happens to the victim. And if society believes that, you know, in order for someone to report a rape, you have to be shocked, you have to be crying, that whole notion is actually very wrong, because fear doesn't always scream. Sometimes it shuts down. And I feel like even in the police sector, they really need to be educated on matters of handling victims. And these days, there's usually agenda based violence office, where you just go directly. And I feel like that's really helped with the victims, because you don't really have to go to the counter directly. You can just go to the office and report. Once you report, it does take quite a bit of time for from the moment you report up until the victim is arrested. I mean, sorry, the perpetrator is arrested. So it's a long process. It's a long process, and it does take time. So
And another issue is the numbers say the people who assault you the most are not strangers, they're people you know. So the biggest challenge is also reporting your uncle. Like, you'll find the victim is, that's my dad, so they don't have that space haven, that place where they can seek justice, because you are seeking justice and then coming back home in the evening. So the case will, you find that the victim will drop the case. So they're usually, it's also something in our goals in the future, to just build a safe haven where the victims can come and have a temporary stay as they're seeking their justice. So that process where they don't have a safe place to stay, because let's say it's your uncle, you can't go report him and then come back in the evening. You'll be beaten. So most of the time people are just quiet about it. So you really, there's one we visited and it's not really publicized, these places. So we have to have more of these
safe
areas.
spaces?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're not, you won't find that a billboard there saying, so this is where these people are.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just taken in until your court case is over. So you're just provided shelter, food, and vocational training during this entire process. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And, you know, you've mentioned something that was also among the things I wanted us to talk about when we talk about sexual assault awareness. The fact that it happens and that family is set up, you know, and it does happen. It's not like it's something that is far-fetched. It does happen. So now what to do, you know, when it's in your home, it's your dad, you know, it could be your mom who's doing that. Just what to do, you know?
So I would like to say the fact that it does happen quite a lot. Actually, most of the times the victims know of their perpetrators because it's people close to them.
Yeah.
And when it does happen, I feel like the best thing is definitely to report. Definitely to report, even though it's going to be hard and not easy and it's gonna take a toll on the entire family. It's essential to report.
Yeah.
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 And I think we have to have these conversations more often so that we can build such safe spaces so that even people can know about them. Because let's say you've been assaulted by a relative, you feel like there's nowhere you can go.
Yeah.
If you tell your mom, let's say you've told your mom that your dad did this to you, your mom, because of the traditional cultural beliefs that we have, utaambiwa, you'll bring shame, nyamaza, usiambie mtu. So you'll live in that space where I can't tell anyone about this because, hey, how will it look on my family?
Yeah.
And these are cases that we actually witness firsthand because apart from educating the high school students, we also have programs where we go into communities and gather girls around from that area and educate them on sexual assault. And when they get to open us and tell us about their stories, most of them say that it's my dad who did this to me and my mom told me not to speak about it anymore or not to tell anyone. And it's actually very painful and sad when that happens because your parent, this is your guardian, this is someone who's supposed to protect you. And instead of that, it's the same person who harms you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very difficult for the victim and it's a very long process before the victim gets help because he or she first of all has to acknowledge that it's someone who's close to him or her. Yeah, then also choose to report, you know, and some of them feel guilty. But we tell them, no, they hurt you. They weren't feeling guilty when they did that act. So you shouldn't even feel guilty when you now choose yourself and decide to report and seek justice for yourself.
Okay. All right. On that note, we take a break, and then when we come back, we will allow you to send in your messages and to also call in live if you have any question on the matter that we are talking about, that is sexual assault awareness. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, you can now get to talk to us. Our number is 0716-103-301. 0716-103-301. You can call in live if you have a question, if you have a comment you want to make on this matter that we're talking about today, that is sexual assault awareness. You are free to do that, or you can also send a WhatsApp message on the same. I can only imagine, you know, you get to deal with these cases, right? So I can only imagine the mental derailment that happens. Because we are talking about it already, I'm feeling sad.
Yeah.
So I can imagine now you getting to deal with these cases, you know, as often as you do. Do you also get to take time for just yourselves to, you know, for yourselves to maybe just release? Because I can imagine you're being given these stories when you go to school. Some of them are really graphic and whatever. So just how do you take time for yourselves as well to just get to Usa?
Yeah, well, first of all, we also have therapists who also, apart from the victims, we also have group therapy sessions where we also talk and, you know, at least we share the load with each other. We are able to communicate. And we understand that the work we do is more important. So we also try to center the survivors instead of ourselves most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, yes,
And
there's
you
the
also have-
survivors, but now you...
Yeah.
Like, how
Just
do you-
reminding yourself that, you know, you're doing the best you can, first of all.
Yeah.
It's not that we are not doing anything. It would be bad to hear and not do anything. But at least we are making progressive steps towards their healing.
Yeah.
So that makes the load a bit lighter.
And we also undergo, she was saying, the group
Group
therapy.
therapy.
As the Fortuna Foundation team, we
Yeah.
just have a therapist and we just share these things. Maybe you've had a story and it's affected you. So we just tell them and they're there to also help us. So it's not, the therapy is not just for the victims and the survivors, it's also for us.
Yeah.
So we have these sessions where, so that these issues, you don't internalize them, they affect you negatively. You can't go and help another person. You have to, we usually have, these group therapy sessions really help us. Even after events, let's say, we just have a debrief after an event. We say, okay, so this happened, this boy came and told me this, and so even when me, I'm talking to Sumaya, she'll help me to process whatever I've had.
It's always good talking it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even as you're saying, you don't really need to speak to a therapist.
Yeah.
We advocate for therapy 100%. But I'm just saying, if you can't get to that level where you can access a therapist, just find someone you can speak
talk to.
Or you can
You
even
know?
journal.
Oh.
You can even journal by yourself and just let go of those emotions. Just write it down or record your voice note on your WhatsApp or whatever. Just speaking it out through your journaling, or you'll just feel much relieved afterwards.
The point is not to carry that weight alone. If something is weighing you down, you need to offload it.
Yeah. Probably just to get to understand how you work with the survivors, like say from the time someone comes, tells you this happened to me. Okay, I think you had mentioned it, but anyway, like how exactly do you like move from now this point where, or someone just sent you a message, if you have a number that people can talk to you on, someone just sent you a message saying this happened to me yesterday, where do you begin from there?
So
Okay.
usually, as she was saying before, we've partnered with Nahia and the team. It has called House Call Medics. So once we've received this notification, we let them know.
Okay.
So they can come to you. They help that first aid really. So they collect either the evidence or you're told not to shower after you've been assaulted. So once you've told us, we connect you to Nahia. Nahia comes with her team. They check everything is okay. They collect the samples they need to do, and they now also link you up with Yashim and the legal team now, so they can also take that up if you want to seek that legal aid at that time. If not, Nahia and a mental health group can come to you also once they've collected the samples, they vote. So that process where you have been helped to process the traumatic experience with the mental health therapist there to help you understand, just process everything. Once you're ready, the Yashim and their legal team can come in and help you to report the case.
Yeah, and an important part I feel like is missed is, first of all, when we talk to the victim, we tell them of the help that's available, and we ask them which one of the help that's available are they more comfortable in pursuing, because they also have to be willing to take on that journey, because it is a journey. So we let them know and we ask them, where would you like to begin, you know? Because some of them don't feel like reporting, some of them choose not to report, and we do respect that. We don't encourage it, but we respect it.
Yeah. Okay, you have a Gali camp coming up. We'll get to talk about that, but before we talk about that, there's some messages that have come in. Someone is asking, how do I avoid sexual assault? How would you answer such?
You know,
It's to
honest,
to avoid
To avoid
it.
the-
there's no way you can avoid,
Yeah.
because it can happen anywhere at any time by whomever. So there's no way you can avoid, but you can teach people not to.
I'll cut you short. Sorry
Okay.
about that. We have a caller. We have John from Migori. John, good morning. Good morning, John. If you can hear me, John, good morning. Okay. We seem to have lost him. So yeah, we were just talking about how...
Yeah, and this whole notion stems from the victim blaming aspect, because now you feel like as the victim or the survivor, you know, what can I do to protect myself? But that whole narrative should shift and focus on the perpetrators, where we now tell them, do not do this, do not do that. Yeah. Don't harm women, don't harm men. Let people consent freely. Don't cause someone to consent to your sexual advances. You know,
Just to add on to that.
I believe John is back on the line. John, good morning. John, kindly mute your television so that we can be able to hear you. Good morning. Talk to us.
Good morning, madam.
How are you? Kindly talk to us.
So the issue comes. Yeah, I'm talking to you. So the issue is, the issue comes in a situation where we see survival sex for business.
Sorry? John? Okay, we've lost him, unfortunately. So, you know, there's another message here, and this one is almost the same. He's saying, my name is Catherine from Vihiga. How can I protect myself from unwanted, it's a bit different, unwanted sexual attention? Some of this, I know it's very difficult
It's
to
not
answer.
difficult. It's similar to the first one. Yeah, because you cannot control the attention you have once you step out of the house. Really, you cannot control that.
Yeah.
I think the best way we can answer that is encourage people to be proactive in these conversations. So that, let's say, for example, you have someone from Vihiga and they've listened to this. She goes and tells her friends. These conversations, once we're having them more and more often, people are more aware of the subject, and they're more aware of, like, catcalling is wrong. Spanking someone and groping someone without their consent is wrong. So it's just being proactive and educating as many people as we can in this matter.
Let's talk about the camp that is coming up. What is it all about?
So as I mentioned earlier, apart from the outreach programs we have in school, we also now go to communities and we go to a specific area, and we're able to gather girls within that area and educate them on not only sexual assault, but also on mental health, legal guidelines for sexual assault survivors. And also we also invite vocational trainers who are able to at least teach them one or two things that they can benefit from financially. So the first one, we had it at Jericho, where we were able to gather around 50 girls. And the second one, we had it in Karioko, Ziwani, where we were able to gather 70 girls, and we also had guests, so the crowd was around 100 people. And this time we are going to Mathare, the third edition of Gali Camp, where we hope to gather 100+ girls from that area and educate them. So within that educational camp, we also offer them lunch, and we give them sanitary towels and also the education.
So it's happening on Saturday in Mathare. Where exactly in Mathare?
There's a hall called Pekui in Mathare. That's where it's going to take place.
Mlango Kubwa.
How do you get to pick where exactly to go? Because you mentioned you were in Jericho, you know, and now you're going to Mathare. How do you get to pick where to go?
We do our statistics and we research on the areas that are highly affected by sexual assault, and then we're able to go there.
Okay, we have a caller from Kisumu. John, morning. Good morning, John. Okay, I don't know what's happening with our calls today. All right, so...
yes, good morning.
Hi, John. Kindly talk to us.
Yes, I would want to...
Go ahead. John, can you hear me? We seem to be having issues with our call-ins. I'm so sorry about that. You were mentioning just how you get to decide.
I do research.
You do your research,
Yeah.
and what exactly are you looking at? Areas where probably there could be a probability of such happening, or
There's, where there's a heightened risk, yeah, of sexual assault. Yeah.
And also try and look for areas that are with high poverty rates. Because we had a case before where one of the girls who came said they can't afford sanitary towels.
Yeah.
And they are forced to have sexual relations with men who are older to get money to get sanitary towels so that she can go to school.
yeah.
So we try and have this, even when we're doing the girly camp, we are encouraging the vocational trainers to come and just teach them and just speak to them, even entrepreneurs, to try and change that norm where they just think that like the only way out is through sex with someone older. Like just try and encourage them to like start businesses, to try something different, to be economically empowered so that they're not forced towards going towards that route just to get sanitary towels and just to get the basic needs that they deserve. So
Yeah. From the ones that, this is the 3rd edition,
Yes.
right? So you've done the 1st and the second edition.
Yeah.
What can you say has significantly stood out for you, you know, from these camps, and what more do you expect from, you know, the 3rd one now?
I think that's really stood out for me, especially in the first one, was the fact that after the session, there's one girl who came to me. She was around 16 years old, and when she came to me, she had tears in her eyes, and she told me that, Sumaya, I've never known that this is assault. Yeah, so she had been assaulted by their dad now at home, and the mom kept on telling her that, you know what, just don't say, it's okay. So she had grown up knowing, or she is actually, because she's still young, so she knows that, you know, sometimes things like those happen in families. And the mom told her, you can't speak on it to anyone. So when she heard that these things are actually assault, and, you know, I have been invalidated, you know, so that's what really hurt her the most. And now she told us that, you know, she's not yet ready to speak on it. And, you know, at that time, you really can't force someone to seek help if they don't want the help. So she had to go back home. And I feel like for me, that was the saddest part of it all. And I remember that night I couldn't even sleep well because I just kept on thinking about her. Yeah, because she had to now not speak about it again and go back to the same environment that hurt her. Yeah.
All right, we have John again from Kisumu. John, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, talk to us, John. We can hear you, John.
Yes, good morning, Madam Presenter.
Yeah, good morning. Talk
I
to
want
us.
to say that the ongoing program is a very important one. It is quite insightful and very eye-opening. I would want to thank Madam Sumaya and the other gentleman whose name I've not gotten right. Issues of sexual harassment are issues that are at the heart of every society. And Madam Sumaya is indeed undertaking a very important duty in creating awareness at her level. The government should actually come out more actively. And the media, particularly KBC, the national broadcaster, should actually be able to be at the very forefront in highlighting such very issues. The greatest of challenges that some of these could be happening at family levels. And when they happen at family levels, they become incest. And incest brings a lot of shame to the entire family genealogy. And so not much could be exposed. The family genealogy, the entire clan could be trying to hide so that they could protect their faces. Yet these assaults continue to take place daily. I'm sure even as this program is ongoing, could be there is a child being assaulted somewhere, a lady being assaulted somewhere. The government needs to step up the effort, and KBC as a national broadcaster really needs to come out, and Madam Sumaya actually needs to be supported a great deal by the donors and by the government actors, so that we could have networks of exposing these illegalities in whichever corner they take place, and addressing them head on with a legal authority. Thank you and be blessed. KBC continue doing a very good work. Madam Sumaya, may Allah bless you to continue creating this great awareness. Thank you. I'm John Odundo from Kisumu.
Thank you so very much, John. You made Sumaya also cry. Thank you so very much for your sentiments, which were actually exactly what we're talking about, you know? Like, everyone needs to join in on this
conversation.
It can't be a one person's responsibility of this particular organization or this particular institution or this particular person or, you know, just the leaders or whoever. It's supposed to be a fight where all of us join in, because I mean, it's our society, we're living in it, so when such things happen, it affects us in one way or another. It may not be direct to you, but in some way it will definitely come to you. It will affect you in one way or the other. There's a message here that has also come in. Someone is asking where they can find you as the foundation. Probably if they want to find you, probably social media. Where exactly can they find you on social media?
So on our social media platform, we have the same name, which is Sumaya Foundation. On LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, just Sumaya Foundation. And you can also email us at sumayafoundation@gmail.com. Or you can also call us at 0716 630 141.
All right, that's how you can get to find Sumaya Foundation. There's another one here, and this one is of a lady who's talking about an assault that almost happened. So she says that I boarded a motorbike a few days ago. The guy took me to a bushy area. He almost raped me, but God sent 2 angels whom they came and stopped him. I didn't report him yet. What can I do about it? And she continues to say that it's a rider that she knows because the guy called him the following day to ask for forgiveness. So she's asking, how exactly can she, you know, get to report such a case? Where does she start? Is it even a case?
Yes, it is. Because, you know, sexual assault is not only the act, but the attempt. So the attempt to obtain that act. So I would advise her to reach out to us, and we can be able to help her accordingly. And we can now help her report, and she can seek the services that she requires.
All right. As we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, probably the Madare camp that is happening, is it open to everyone? Or, you know, are you working with a certain number so you can't work with everyone? Just tell me about that.
No, we've selected few girls from that area, but it's also open to everyone. Everyone can come in, and if you're unable to, you can also support us. We also have a till number where you can be able to send in any contribution, or you can send us an in-kind contribution such as sanitary towels or soaps or, you know, those things that girls may need. Or you can also volunteer. You know, we are looking for also vocational trainers, mental health experts, legal experts, so that we can come in and have this conversation with all the girls. And Rafael, remember the till?
Okay, you can share the till, but at least you've shared where they can find you. Yes. You can share with them, you know, probably when they reach out. So it's open to everyone.
Everyone is open. Especially
every person to
yeah.
come
Yeah.
join you in Mathare.
Yeah.
The young girls who may be watching here and they live in Mathare.
Yes, they
they're
can
open to
come as well. Yeah, that
All right.
day. Yeah.
Do we have a boy camp? Let me speak of the child.
I actually not wanted to stay after this. So we usually try and hold these events whenever the kids are on holiday. Yeah. So April and August and December. So in August we have a boys event. It will be a soccer event.
Yeah, we are planning to host a tournament because, you know, we are trying to think of a way where we can bring boys together. And I feel like football is such an essential element. Yeah. So if we host a football camp, we bring boys together, they play football and we also educate them and we give them prizes. That's what we are working on next.
So that's in August.
So it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
No wonder. I'm entertaining your people. How entertaining your gender mix. Anyway, that's really nice. You guys are doing an amazing, amazing job. And I love the fact that you're incorporating both boys and girls because most times we tend to just cater for the girl. And it's maybe understandable because of the numbers. But yes, it's good to also get the boys involved in this conversation, get the men involved in this conversation so that we just have, as I've said, we allow it to be holistic, you know, and it's very important for us to keep having such conversations, you know, it's really important for us to keep speaking about this and spreading awareness on it because as you had said earlier, you know, when maybe a case of assault has happened and it's rape, you're not supposed to shower. You know, this is something that maybe some people don't know, and that's how some perpetrators go free because there's no evidence against them. So we need to really have more of these conversations over and over again. And even as we wind up, I'm being told there's one last caller. Wairimo, good morning. Wairimo, if you can hear me, good morning. And what's your comment or question on this conversation? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Sumaya. Thank you so much, Rafo. Nimestick na jina Rafo. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. You're doing a good job. You know, may you continue doing it. And also thank you for gracing our studios today to talk about this conversation that I said earlier. We need to keep having it over and over and over again, right?
And thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Such an honor to be here. We are really grateful. Thank you so much.
What may be your last remarks or your parting shots?
My parting shot would be to end victim blaming because it's such a huge part. So don't protect your daughters, educate your sons.
Okay.
Mine is just to invite all of you on Saturday. I hope we'll be in Mathare. Come and support us, help us take this challenge on one step at a time.
All right. Thank you so very much. This is where we come to an end of this conversation. Many thanks to each and every one of you who has been tuned in from the beginning when we started the show at 6:30 a.m. until this point where we are winding. My name is Vivian Dagwa. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing, same time and place. Goodbye.